What do you do when fear keeps getting in the way of your next big move? Maybe you've got the vision, the passion, the potential, but every time you step forward, something inside you whispers, what if I'm not ready? What if I fail? You're not alone. Studies show that 61% of people say that fear of failure is the number one reason why they don't pursue their passion. In today's episode, we're talking about how to finally break free from fear and step fully into your power and your purpose. And we're once again joined by Dawn Petgrave-Smith, a licensed psychologist with over 17 years of experience helping individuals untangle the emotional blocks that hold them back. We'll talk a little bit about why do fear hold so many people back from stepping into our purpose? How do the fear of failure and the fear of success shows up differently? Mindset shifts that helps people move forward despite the fear. And if someone feels stuck in fear right now, one action step they can take today to move forward. So if you've been waiting on the perfect moment to step into your power, then this episode is your sign. Welcome to Project Purpose Podcast, your weekly guide to clarity, courage, and purposeful action. I'm your host, Sheryll, and my mission is simple: to help you silence self-doubt and show up for the life you actually want. So, if you're ready to stop letting fear call the shots and finally walk into your purpose, then let's dive in. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Project Purpose Podcast, your weekly guide to clarity, courage, and purposeful action. We are still on the self-worth series for both men and women. And once again, we are blessed to have our beloved psychologist in the room with us, Mrs. Dawn Petgrave-Smith. Welcome again, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Thank you. I'm still having a tongue twist with your Dawn Petgrave-Smith. So I'm just going to move on to Mrs. Smith. So good to have you. And if you're all just joining us, right, we have already covered two series, right? Two.
Right. This is number 3.
We have already covered silencing self-doubt. And then we had also talked about how to set boundaries without the guilt. And today, our topic is breaking free from fear and stepping into your purpose. And I cannot wait to hear what our expert have to say on this topic. So I'm going to get right into the questions here for us, Dawn. And the first one I have for you here is, why does fear hold so many people back from stepping into their purpose?
Wow, what an incredible question. So, from a psychological perspective, we need to understand that fear is a fundamental human emotion, and the purpose is to protect you from danger, perceived danger, whether it's real or not. And so, I read somewhere that fear can become an acronym to mean false evidence appearing real. Most of the time, the things we fear is not even real, right? So it can paralyze an individual. Sometimes this is why people fall into panic attacks, because it's fear that something bad is going to happen. And so once that emotion is there, the body is going to go into its protective measure. And so we see that many persons, if we are not being cognizant that this is happening and then become intentional to respond versus react to the fear, then we spend our entire life never living, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And that's so key. We have all experienced it as well. As you mentioned, the body is protecting you. It wants to stay safe. It wants to stay in that comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And it knows nothing else. So it's protecting us, so to speak. But if we want to achieve, our goals, our dreams, and just, overall success, whatever that might look to the individual, we have got to first be able to identify the fear and then being able to push past that fear over to the other side of that ideal life. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, definitely agree. Definitely agree.
Now, when I saw this question, it made me ponder, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, which
Mhm.
is, how do the fear of failure differs from the fear of success? Um,
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So, when you talk about fear of failure, that usually stems from worry or negative circumstances or not achieving something that you set out. All right. So, that's the fear of failure. Now, the fear of success, on the other hand, involves apprehension that you might have of negative responses that may be thrown at you because of your success. So, oh, let me give you a perfect example. Lisa Nichols. I don't know if you know who Lisa Nichols is. If you don't, you have to look her up. So, Lisa Nichols was sharing the story about how she went to the ATM to get diapers for her baby at the time, and she didn't have enough money in the bank get to buy the diapers. So she wrapped her baby in a towel for a week. And then she said to herself, this is not how I want to live. This is not. And so, she spoke about changing her life and start doing things differently. And then the one thing she recognized is that if she was ever going to succeed, she had to move away from the environment, the friends, the family. And so she moved, right? Moved to another state. And now that she's showing some form of success, the things that would be thrown at her is, oh, you're always going to these conferences with these white folks, and you move and you live in this white neighborhood, and now you acting like you're this and you're that. And so sometimes persons self-sabotage their success at the fear of what others may say because of the success. Another thing that I see are persons are fear of the success. Let's say you win the lottery and now you fear because somebody's going to kill you for it, or you understand what I mean. Now you have to be more protective of the things that now you have to be watching your back all the time. So that's the difference right there. The fear of failure is the negative voice saying, oh, you're not good enough to do this, or you'll never accomplish this, blase, blase. And on the flip side, the fear of success is if I actually achieve this and this is going to happen. And you want to know how many persons miss success because of fear? Because of fear of what others may think of them. And here's the thing with success: success is lonely, Sheryll. Success is lonely because you're going to have to move away from some people that no longer serve you. And not every, the last episode, we spoke about setting boundaries and being able to say no. This is why sometimes you see some rappers and they have a million people traveling with them because, and though these people may hold them back sometimes, they're still trying to hang on to them because they fear, oh, he my boy from we were kids, and I don't want him to think. But sometimes we just have to walk away from that. Again, the acronym: false evidence appearing real. So don't allow fear to sabotage you from achieving your fullest.
Yes. Wow. That is popular and profound.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, it's I don't know, when I saw it too, I was like, wow, there's different types of fear, and these two are just always at the forefront in one's life, and such a big influence on whether we succeed or not. And what's so striking is that whether we succeed or not has nothing to do with our ability, but instead of the fear that we're
There you
feeling.
go. There you go. There
Let's
you
talk about
go.
that a little bit.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, this is so brilliant. This is so brilliant. Sure. And sometimes the things that you fear or the things that you fear that somebody is going to say may never, ever, ever, ever happen. And so remember that everybody has the innate ability. We were already born with greatness inside of us, right? So it is not it is not external factors. We are co-creators of our life. So it's not external factors that determine the level of our success. It's our mindset. And I think in episode 1 we spoke about human beings being the only animal that has the ability, the capability to shift your mindset. And so it is the mind that determines whether you succeed, how well you succeed, or not.
Yeah.
Or not. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really powerful. I can share, my own personal stories. I mean, I have a lot. I often call myself, a late bloomer. I'm pretty much a late bloomer in everything you can think of. You know, I did not complete college until when I was way into my adulthood. And even with my businesses, I did not start achieving success until, again, way in my adulthood. And most often, now that I look back, right, as you begin to start self reflect and start seeking out to become the best version of yourself. In
Mhm.
the last episode, we also talked about the authentic self. You
Yes.
start to gain knowledge and start to go within and realize the reason behind most of that was not the lack of opportunities or resources or skill set, but because you were bound by fear.
Fear.
And I believe that most of the fear also comes from our upbringing, our environment, what we were taught to believe from childhood. Can you speak to us a little bit about
Yes.
that?
Yes. Yes. I want to talk a little bit about the environment. And 2 days ago, 2 days ago, I was on my farm and I decided I was going to spend the day gardening. I was fasting that day and I just wanted to spend some time in my garden. Now, I didn't have enough pots last year, so there were some plants that I put two in a pot. And here's what started happening, Sheryll. This one particular plant, it it grew so much and it took up all the space. So the other plant just it was stifled. It wasn't going anywhere. So I took that plant out, got a new pot now and put it in a pot by itself. You would be surprised to see how that plant is now blooming because now it has the space and the right environment. What did I learn from that? I learned that sometimes we're just in the wrong environment and we have to be taken, move ourselves away and be positioned where we can grow to our fullest potential. I think it was Jim Rohn that says, how tall can a tree grow? Right? As tall as it can, right? And so many times we don't get to our fullest potential because of elements. So that was one thing that came from that. Here is the other thing. There was a pot that I had, and I remember not having enough soil. So I saw when they're building house and they have sand, and so the sand looked like dirt. So I thought, it looks like dirt. So I filled the flower pot with sand. And when I went back, I'm checking and I'm like, this plant is not, it's not moving. It didn't die, but it just wasn't moving. You know what happened, Sheryll? It was in the wrong soil. Well, it wasn't soil, it was in the wrong medium
Environment,
for environment, again, for
elements.
it, element, right? For it to grow. So took the thing out, throw everything out. Now fill that pot with dirt from the farm and some topsoil that I purchased. Sheryl, oh my God, you would be amazed to see how this thing is flourishing. And so in life, sometimes you have to be aware, right? We call it mindful. You have to be mindful of the things that are happening to you. So, those plants were created to grow and to bloom. Why weren't they? So many times we remain stuck and say things like, boy, nothing is going on for me. I can never get a break. But we don't become mindful to see what is causing that. So because I was watching these plants was what led me to recognize that they were in the wrong environment. So we were all created with the ability to thrive. But again, sometimes you just have to ensure that the environment for plants, they need the right soil so they could get the nutrients from the soil. There's some plants that need direct sunlight, but there's some plants that need sunlight but not direct sunlight. There's some plants that need more shade. You have to know what you need to get to your fullest potential. And sometimes it means disassociating yourself. Find the people that are doing what you are doing. Start following them. Start talking to them. I remember one time, and I'll share the story. I was the manager for MAC Cosmetics at the time in Jamaica, and they one day a lady came and she said she wanted to speak to the manager. So when I went out, she said to me, I my card was charged 5,450 US instead of Jamaican dollars. And I said to her, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." This was about 3 or 4 days after we just opened. Just came to Jamaica, so everybody learning the system. So apparently, one of the salesperson made an error. So the lady, so I'm there apologizing, and she held my hand softly, and she says, "Honey, I'm okay because my credit card protects me, but I'm worried for you. How did you balance?" Sheryl, we were there the whole night, could not balance because we couldn't figure out what was happening. Okay. So I talked with the lady for a little bit and then I said to her, "Can we go for coffee?" I wanted to have coffee with this lady, not because of what happened, but because her posture with, well, we know 5,450 US dollars, multiply that by 150 Jamaican dollars. That's a lot of money. In my mind, if you have a credit card lady that went through for 5,000 US, I want to know you. I want to know who you are, what you do. And so I invited myself to lunch with this lady, to coffee with her, because I saw something in her. I saw posture in her. So sometimes we have to step away from fear to go out and seek also the help that we need to get us to the places that we need to go. And that's what that did for me. I didn't get to have coffee, but she did call me and we were able to have an extensive conversation that will never leave me. And I believe that experience right there is a part of me confidence up and me getting to self actualization because now I saw something in this lady that I gravitated towards. So Let us move away from fear, whether it's the fear of failure or the fear of success. Let us move away from fear and get the necessary help that we need to become the best version of ourselves.
Yes, wow, that is actually quite powerful. What a story. What a story.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Because in situations like that, right? And the average person would have actually react as opposed to respond. And so she responded with such calm
Grace.
and grace, and definitely kudos to you for recognizing that right away, that this is something different, and seek out to learn more. Really, that's what
Yeah.
that is. And that actually leads us into our next question, which is, what's a mindset shift that helps people move forward despite fear, right? Feeling the fear and moving forward anyway.
Cheryl, I'm just going to give you a scripture right here. 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. For the Spirit of God gave us not a mind of fear, but of power, of love, and of self discipline. That's the word of God. So every time I feel fear, because I think sometimes people think that because you're successful or you're doing well, that you don't have fear. We do have fear, but it doesn't mean that success is the absence of fear, right? It's still having the courage to press on. And so I would just remind myself, God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. And I'll do my affirmation. So here's something that we can do. I'm enough. I'm enough. You can say this even right now. You can repeat this without opening your mouth. So you and I can be here and I'm feeling fear, but you can be in your mind repeating, I am enough, I'm equipped, I'm deserving. A lot of times we feel the fear because we don't think we're deserving. And this is why understanding self worth is so important, right? You don't want to allow yourself to become something that can be bought on the shelf of Walmart. Do you know what I mean? Like you are deserving. And so that's what I would encourage persons to do. Remember the scripture, 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. I would encourage parents to teach this scripture when we were young and in primary school, a part of our lesson was remembering Bible verses. This is one that I would encourage parents to teach their children when they feel fear. God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. And remember, when you feel those fears, say your affirmations. I am strong. I am confident. I am enough. I am courageous. I am equipped. I am deserving.
Yes, awesome. So powerful. One of my most beloved affirmation when it comes to fear and doubting myself is to say that I am capable.
Yes.
I am capable. And also, just to piggyback off what you just mentioned, I believe, one of the biggest action step to breaking free from fear is knowledge, is gaining knowledge. Most often we are fearful and we doubt ourselves simply because we lack the knowledge required for that particular situation, right? I always
Yes.
use the example of like being a public speaker. You know, someone like yourself, Dawn, is just an adverse, public speaker. But for someone like me, I can share that it doesn't come easy, like for most of us, right? But what I've learned in order to speak, and even doing what I'm doing right now, a true story, when I just started this podcast, I took forever to start. And I was just doing everything on the back end, right? Then I realized, okay, Sheryll, you had made a goal, right? You had set a deadline for yourself that in 30 days you would record your first episode. And I
Mhm.
did everything that I can think of except record my first episode. And I did not do it until like that same day. I was like, it's now or never. And a
Mhm.
big part of that is because the fear of, being judged, right? You think you'll get bad reviews. So again, we were just all in our head. But to counteract that, and what our expert guest is saying here is that if we seek out knowledge, for example, again using the example of a public speaking, you might be afraid to speak because you have no clue how to do it, what your topic is about, or even how to articulate yourself
Self.
on
Mhm.
stage, right? But you can learn, right? You first gain confidence by researching the topic that you'll be
Mhm.
speaking about. It's always recommended that you have, one or two jokes that you want to put in there, or a statistic, or a short story. What that does is it makes the public speaking personable, right? People can now relate to you. And are you gonna mess up? Yes, you'll still mess up, but at least now you are more confident to doing it, and the fear diminishes, especially the more you do it. Right? Talk
Yes.
to us a little bit about that, Don.
Yes, definitely. So I love how you said that I speak eloquently because this little girl was one of the shyest person in high school. So even now when people ask me about high school, I don't remember one thing from high school. It's hard to believe, but I barely remember anything from high school. But then when I moved to America for college, I the when I did my interview, the international advisor said, "How is it that at 18 years old you know exactly what you wanted to do?" Because I was just telling her about my career, and she said, "I'm going to introduce you to someone who is the advisor for the Caribbean Club, and I think you need to get involved. So, with other Caribbean students." And let me tell you, I was just coming from Jamaica. I'm wearing the wrong clothes for winter. I like all of it was wrong. And I felt so inadequate. And I remember my first semester, there was a class in speech therapy, in speech communication. And Sheryll, you literally have to stand up in front of the class and do a speech. And I thought I was going to die. And I did my first speech. And like you said, knowledge. So I did it on something that I knew a lot about. So though I couldn't really articulate and give the eye contact and have the posture and all of that, the knowledge, I was so knowledgeable that still grabbed the student. Final exam, semester ends, final exam, we had to do a persuasive speech. But by then, I'm now a member of the Caribbean Club, and you start finding people and they're liking you, and you start feeling a little more comfortable. Girl, my persuasive speech was that common entrance should be abolished. Now, some people don't even know common entrance because now it's hip or something. I don't even know. But it's an exam in Jamaica that you have to do that qualifies you to go to high school. And I remember I passed when I was 10 years old, but some of my friends didn't pass. And I just felt it was unfair. So when I moved to America and realized that they didn't have that and people were going to school according to their zone and stuff like that, I was like, we need to get rid of common entrance. And so I did my persuasive speech. When I was finished that day, the class was so quiet. My professor wrote on my paper, when you go back to your country, you need to run for Minister of Education. It was so powerful. That gave me the boost. And I ran for presidency of the Caribbean Club and I won. That was it. I haven't stopped talking since then.
Yes, very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. Yeah, just to summarize what we just talked about, I know I babble on a little bit too, but it really is, you know, we talked about feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. And a part of
Yes.
moving forward is definitely to gain knowledge.
Yes.
The more you know on the topic is the more confident you will be, and then you start doing it. And as you do it, because as Dawn mentioned, her first speech, she did not know about eye contact, walking away from the podium a little bit, walking back to the podium,
Mhm.
as I mentioned also, sharing jokes, sharing statistics. You learn all of that the more you do the thing.
Do
And there's a
it.
saying out there that says, do the thing and you gain the power. And that's
Ah,
exactly what that is. So that's, the fear, breaking free from fear. And I want to ask you, Dawn, even though I believe you covered it already, but do you have any additional stories of, like maybe someone that overcome fear and stepped into their purpose? I believe most of the ones you share is perfect. But
yeah.
anything else?
So one person came to mind or come to mind is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the first female president in Africa. The country was Liberia. And I read her memoir. It's called This Child Will Be Great. It's amazing when you're going through adversities how many things you can learn, because I was just seeking answers at that time. And she came from an abusive relationship, a physically abusive relationship. And so in Liberia, the women didn't get much education. And so she could read, but could really barely read, sort of. And the abuse got so bad that she ran away and had the courage to divorce her husband. But in Liberia, when you file for divorce, the husband is the one that gets the children. So, as a mother, she has to now make a decision to leave her children because she filed for a divorce. So, that was overcoming one fear right there. So, well, the husband did give her the last one because, but anyway, the part of the story that I want you guys to get is she got to America, and you could read the book for the full story, but she went, did GED, and then went to college, and then did more studies until Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was invited back to Liberia to become the president. Now, first president of Liberia, and I mean, female president, and first female president in any African country. When I looked at and if you know anything about Liberia and their civil wars and all these things, it was right in the heat of that. And she pushed through all that fear until today. Someone in Jamaica would have read her story. And I guarantee you, Sheryl, I've read a lot of books and I've done a lot of studying, but that was the book that gave me the courage after my divorce. That was the book that said if she did it under those conditions, you can pull yourself up and you can try again. And so it's a brilliant memoir. She's a brilliant woman. As a matter of fact, my hope is really to meet her before she die. I'm throwing it out there in the universe. I would literally get on a plane and go to Liberia just to have coffee with her. There we go. Just to have coffee with her. Her story is brilliant, brilliant story. So, yeah,
Wow. Speechless. Yeah,
yeah,
so that is very powerful. And if you're just listening in, you are on the Project Purpose podcast. We have our special guest with us here today, a licensed psychologist, Mrs. Dawn Petgrave Smith. And she's sharing with us some amazing stories, right? On overcoming fear, right? Breaking free from fear and stepping
yeah,
into your purpose. And what a story that that you just shared about that Liberia president, talk about stepping into your purpose, right?
Yes.
That was powerful. Thank you for sharing. On this podcast, we're always dropping gems, right? We always want to make sure that we share stories with you, that we inspire you, but we also want to make sure that we're giving you the action steps that you need to take so that you too can break free from fear and step into your purpose. So, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dawn. I know personally that I will be researching her story. This
Yes.
is my first time hearing about it, so I will
Yeah.
definitely research that as well. And who knows, I'll be able to join you there in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we're getting close to the end of this episode, guys. As I mentioned before, we're talking about breaking free from fear and stepping into your purpose. And before we start our action steps, Dawn, tell us a little bit about we know you obviously is definitely on, it's a journey for you, breaking free from fear and stepping into your purpose, as you mentioned. One of them is we know that you are a psychologist, and we also know that you are involved with different organizations. Talk to us about your banner there that I'm seeing, and also what it is that you do, and then help us close out by sharing some action steps with our listeners.
Yes, definitely. Um, so I do wear many hats, and that's why setting boundaries is so important for me. The banner you're seeing behind me is a banner for my mental, it's a foundation for men. So it's all things men leadership, financial literacy, and wellness, which are some of the things that are the lack thereof that might push a man into depression or anxiety or such forth. My private practice is Dawn Marie Therapy. So the website is dawnmarietherapy.com, where persons anywhere in the world can book a session. You book online, you pay online. The sessions are confidential and non judgmental. And so on this podcast, which is I'm so grateful for this podcast because we share nuggets. We're not just giving information, we're giving tips and action steps, which are so good. But if someone is listening and need more than what we're offering here, you need something more personalized, then definitely go to dawnmarietherapy.com and book your session today. And so, action step for this episode is a poem called Equipment, and it's by an Englishman, Edgar Quest. And if you have been watching from series one by now, you probably find out that I'm an avid reader. I read everything that comes to me. And so I was doing a study on George Washington Carver when I came across this poem because this is his favorite poem. And so he recited this poem in 1942 at Selma University. And the poem is titled Equipment by Edgar Quest. It starts by saying, figure it out for yourself, my lad. You have all the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you would be wise. With this equipment, they all began. So start for the top and say, I can. Look them over, the wise and great. They take their food from a common plate, and similar knives and forks they use. With similar laces they tie their shoes. The world considers them brave and smart, but you have all they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skill. You can be great if only you will. You're well equipped for what fight you choose. You have arms and legs and a brain to use. And the man who has risen great deeds to do began his life with no more than you. You are the handicap you must face. You are the one who must choose your place. You must say where you want to go, how much you will study the truth to know. God has equipped you for life, but He lets you decide what you want to be. Courage must come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You were born with all the great have had. With your equipment, they all be gone. Get hold of yourself and say, I can. That's it.
Wow. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Can you read me the line that says you are the handicap?
Cap. Yeah, yeah.
What did it say?
It says, you are the handicap you must face.
You must face. I love that. You are the handicap you must face.
Yeah. And that's what fear does. Remember, false evidence appearing real. So fear will cripple you. But until you face that fear, you're never going to see how amazing you actually are. So
Yeah.
if you have ever been in one of my youth sessions or Sunday school or the Murray Institute, you would have had a copy of this poem. I print this out on hard stocks, and when students are graduating from school, they get one of this with their diploma. Such a brilliant, brilliant poem.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. And I particularly love that line because it reminded me of what we just talked about, that we are more than capable, right? And all the fear that we're feeling is really in our head, right?
Yeah,
And fear itself is an handicap, and we must face it in order to reach our highest height.
yeah, yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. Anything else you want to say about that before we
Yeah,
move on?
yeah, yes. Well, I just want to say that, I mean, this is such a powerful topic, Sheryl, because it doesn't matter what walks of life you are. This is something, whether you're rich, poor, it does not matter. Everybody at some point in their life struggle with fear.
Awesome. And as usual, we do have a challenge for our listeners. So here's the challenge for this week. We want you to identify one fear that's stopping you from taking action, right? Because let's face it, deep down we know what it is. We know what it is. We whatever it is that we want to do, something is holding us back. And if we go deep enough, we can identify it. So spend the time this week to identify a fear that is holding you back from taking action. Write down one small step that you will take, regardless of that fear, to move forward, right? So first you identify the fear, write down what it is, and then write down what will you do? What's one small step that you'll take to move forward in spite of that fear. And we also always leave you with a self worth tip. So here's one for us, Dawn. It says, fear is a story your mind tells you. You have the power to rewrite it. This goes hand in hand with how you had actually opened up this episode here, episode 3, when you mentioned that we can change our environment. You share the examples of the flower, planting a tree, right? So we have the power to rewrite what our mind is telling us. What do you say about that?
It's so powerful, and I think my final word, because we're at the end, is to the man or woman who's watching this, you are worthy. You're worthy of great health. You're worthy of great success. You are worthy of great wealth because God has already equipped you with everything that you need to accomplish an amazing life. And just like the poem says earlier, just look yourself in the mirror and say, I can.
Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful. So we've come to the end of this episode, guys, and we thank you so much for tuning in. And we do thank our beloved psychologist for being with us throughout this whole series, right? We're talking about the self worth series, and we just wrapped up breaking free from fear and stepping into your purpose. I hope that you find value in this episode. And if you do, please share it with a friend and make sure that you're subscribing to the channel so that you won't miss next week's episode. It will be the final episode in this series. And guess what? We actually have an additional guest with us next week. I cannot wait to have her on camera with us as well, sharing her insight on the final topic that we'll be talking about, which is your worth is not measured by productivity. So until then, thank you so much, Dawn, and we'll say
Thank
goodbye
you.
for now.
Bye, guys. Bye.